Me and this dude went clubbing at gay clubs all the time. Yeah,
I'm
so
also a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race.
hmm
I got to meet Chad Michaels and Mayhem Miller at a gay club in a
Mayhem
drag
Miller,
show,
it was unbelievable how many people tried to impeach him.
and there is a
Yeah.
big red flag, guys, to the fact that Putin endorsed her. Do you think that Putin is going to endorse a candidate that is going to keep him in check, or somebody that he's going to be able to walk all over? So,
I didn't even think of that point, honestly.
but a lot of people, like serial killers and people who go
They
and
can
do these mass
fake it.
shooting things, well, no, they have clean records. You know what's going to stop that? It's not going to be the added restrictions. It's going to be the properly trained concealed carrier next to him that's going to pull out their weapon and put down the threat.
100%, dude. Oh my God, thank you.
So, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to K&M Tactical Discourse. We've had this idea for a while, Mugen and I. We've wanted to get into the hard conversations and be able to explore what's going on in the political space as well as many others. Most relevant right now being the political atmosphere. And I figure we'll start this off with a brief introduction: who we are, who we're voting for, and why. A lot of you know me from my Tesla content. I'm Kaz with the Cyberlift channel. I've been covering Tesla FSD for years, monitoring its progress, and a lot of you probably noticed that I have had an objective, science-based mentality behind it as I go through things, and I plan to carry that mentality, that rigor, into these discussions. We don't want this to seem one-sided. We want there to be equal representation to the arguments that are given and analyzed. And that being said, I am voting for Trump. So that might be the first time you've officially seen me say it. I haven't really hidden from it, but I haven't really been blasting it out like it's all that important. But I do think this election in itself is very important. And the main reasons that I find a need to vote for Trump is my love for Tesla and SpaceX and these other competitively innovative companies that are bogged down by regulation, by the slow bureaucracy that's gone on, by the snubbing of the current administration at the Tesla summit and the FAA holding back SpaceX from launching, especially when the second it did, they caught the booster. What?
Yeah.
So, business and future technology aside, it's also constitutional freedoms, First and Second Amendment, really standing out more than any of the others for me, though all the amendments are important. As a fellow gun lover, gun owner, well, very soon to be gun owner, to be transparent. I don't have it yet. Soon. Oh, jealous of this man. But Second Amendment advocacy has always been really important to me, but I haven't really had a platform or a real candle lit under me to actually start talking about it. And the way the gun control groups and such have really tried to step up their game in taking away our right to bear arms, well, disguised as limiting our right to bear arms under common sense regulations, it really causes an issue. And I mean, without the Second Amendment, our First Amendment, free speech, and all the others has no defense. So, constitutional protections, competitive innovation for business, and just preserving our liberty. I'm not the biggest fan of Trump as an individual, but him as an individual, to me, is not the big part of the equation here.
Yep. And my name is Mugen. Some of you may recognize my name popping up. Kaz and I tag each other a lot in our videos, especially most recently, given the election and what has been going on in our country. I particularly have never been of any sort of political party or even into politics in general. Up until recently, I just feel like this election is tremendously important because this, for some reason, you just have that gut feeling that there's going to be a very crucial turn of events if things don't happen a certain way. And it's going to affect a lot of people. Now, with that being said, I am going to be voting for Trump. The reason I'm voting for Trump is going to be because even though a lot of people don't like how he speaks, it's transparency for me. Like, I'd rather have a person tell me F you to my face versus telling me one thing to my face and then behind my back saying something else. So, and with that case, I think Trump would be a better candidate, along with a couple of things that Kaz had mentioned with SpaceX and moving forward and evolving as a species. So I feel like Trump will get us there. And today we're going to be going over a couple of things that, and this is going to be very, very unecho chambered. So this is going to be something that we're going to be divulging into information on both parties. And something a little off topic, I do talk a lot with my hands, and I know some of you are probably going to zoom in and notice that I have a cheeseburger on my arm. It's a little funny joke because I'm going to get this out of the way because people are going to ask. My father ended up passing away of cancer. I wanted to get something memorial, like to commemorate like his memory, and I didn't want to do something sad. And every time I ever called him, he was always at a McDonald's drive-through getting a quarter pounder with cheese, Dr. Pepper large, with no mustard. So that's what I got, and there's no mustard on this. So moving on into some of our topics.
Sure,
here.
I can attest to this.
Yeah. So we're gonna.
Oh,
be
real
moving
quick, I guess we should bring that up. So Mugen and I, we didn't like just meet or anything. We met in the 3rd grade. We've been best friends for over 2 decades now. Or
well, I was 8.
what were we, like 8,
Yeah.
9, like 3rd grade? Yeah. So you do
okay,
the math. I
2
don't feel like doing the
2.5
math on there.
decades.
Oh shit. Okay. So
Yeah,
a couple of
bro.
decades.
yeah, we're up there.
Yeah, our parents are kind of second parents to each other and such. We spent the last, 14 plus years apart, with me being in California with the military and him still being here in Florida. And now we're back. We can actually, do some stuff we've wanted to do for a long time together. And here we are with one of them. So figure we'd get that little thing out of there.
Yep, absolutely. Yes. So, along with that, I meant to mention too that we are. I am a proud gun owner. I love my guns, especially more recently for some reason. I think it's because this guy over here is actually with us or with me, so I can actually go to the range with this guy and have some fun and just make holes and things. So he's gonna be getting his guns soon. I currently only have 3. I have my Taurus G2C. It is a 9mm, a lot of fun. I personally haven't gotten to shoot this particular one yet, but I know, we will soon.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I haven't shot this particular one yet, but I have had friends that had the G2C that I got to shoot. So I do know how it handles really well. It's fantastic. Then I've got my first love, which is going to be my XDS Mod 2. This gun is more for someone who, I guess, practices like really good gun control. It has a safety, but the safety is on the back here, and if you don't press it, it's not shooting. So those are my 2 handguns. They're both 9mm. I actively carry the G2C, which is fantastic. And then
Great, can still carry a firearm.
You may not be able to see this one, as you can see already, because it's black.
Censorship.
Yeah, I know. So this is gonna be a new toy that I got here. This is my MMP-15 Sport 3. This is a really, really good budget rifle, honestly. Shoots 5.56, 223s. I got it just Wednesday, which would probably be 2 days ago. That was the 23rd. I got it the 23rd of October.
And this guy's just teasing me with this. He's over here 2 handguns and a rifle deep, and I'm still trying to wait for mine in a couple of days. I've been waiting. So to clarify, I actually, my concealed carry is coming in the mail. I got that pretty much going the second I got here because I wanted to be able to, just go in and buy it. And because in Florida here, we're permitless carry, which means you don't need a permit to carry a firearm. But you do still have to go through the background check process when purchasing a firearm, contrary to what some people believe. And that is, without a permit, a 3-day process. With the concealed carry, you've already gone through the rigorous background checks at a much deeper level, so you can, purchase and go home with your beautiful new firearm right there, which I plan to do here in a couple of days, and then finally get down to the range and get cracking.
Which more than likely, which hopefully, if the time allows us, we may actually make that a video. So something to come with, or to look forward to, I should say. We are going to be posting some fun times when we go to the range together, just kind of like BS as boys. So, and we may or may not have our wives. I do have two kids as well. So he is childless. So yeah.
Hey,
I
hey,
know
I
that
got
sounds
fur
so
babies.
terrible. That sounds so bad. He's childless.
I
He
got
doesn't have
three
kids.
wonderful fur babies. They're all adopted because they were abandoned by horrible humans, and my wife and I are not horrible humans, so we have wonderful rescues.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
All
I
right.
don't want to disparage anybody who doesn't adopt. I'm just being
Yeah. No.
facetious, guys. I'm just playing.
Oh man.
I'm sure that a lot of people who see this, that especially folks that are coming from my own audience base, might be a little surprised, given my love of EVs and just Tesla in general, because there is this narrative, unfortunately, that Elon bad in a lot of the left sphere of influence when it comes to politics, and the fact that the original early adopters of Tesla and everything were left-leaning Democrat, pretty much 100% of the way,
Mm-hmm.
because that was just the only political party that really cared about going electric. Everything else was essentially just non-existent. So for there to be this shift, like myself and Elon, obviously, as we see in the media, to the disparity of many folks, and a lot of just other centrist, libertarian-minded folks that have shifted to the right. It's my pattern's kind of the same. I voted for Biden in 2020, much to the chagrin of family and friends, and my disappointment. In post-term analysis, it's not been the best 4 years, as we've seen from the current administration. So, yeah, basically, by the reasoning of the current status quo being this bad is a driving force in me shifting my priorities to the right in that spectrum. Maybe we can get into, I guess, maybe the not necessarily the pros and cons, but maybe the things that people like and dislike about Trump, or what might be stopping people from being able to accept him as a legitimate candidate, even though he already had a term. Like, it's not like this is new.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And that's funny because it's so there's going to be some topics that we talk about that we actually have not mentioned to each other. This is actually going to be probably one of the first ones, but Trump, when he was originally elected for president, it was unbelievable how many people tried to impeach him. Like they did not want Trump to be president, but in the time that he was president, he got a lot done. Like there was no wars. He pulled men out of the wars that they were in, and I mean he pretty much backed up everything that he was going to say, on top of fighting the mob of people that were trying to send him out of the White House. And he ended up
Yeah.
doing his full term, if I'm correct. I'm pretty sure he did his full term.
Yeah. The impeachment didn't make it. It got. I don't. The official terminology escapes me here. Hold up. We have the power of Grok. Donald Trump was acquitted in both of his impeachment
Yeah.
trials. Yes, in 2019, 2020, as well as in 2021. My
Jeez.
gosh, yeah, he folks were coming after him pretty hard. And so, for in the spirit of transparency here, because I hope that not everyone who's on the Harris side of the equation has already written us off as just Trump guys. The whole point of this, again, in our name, tactical discourse, means strategic, calculated conversation that is meant to go deeper and to analyze points and such. So we are going to be using Grok to fact check and keep us in line with reality. Things that we don't fully understand or might not have the full story on, we can stop and look that up. And I am more than happy with sharing those, or maybe even putting them on the screen right here in
Hmm.
front of you, if I was able to do that in post, just to show you what we're looking at, how we're asking questions, and we invite critique. So if you feel your thumbs just ready to fire off in the comment section, whether it's YouTube or X, fire away. Tag us. We
Hmm.
will bookmark your
Yep.
points
Yep.
and look into them.
Be friendly
Yeah,
though.
go ahead. Yeah.
We're not here to fight.
Well,
We're not here to fight anybody. Like you, if you believe at the end of the day, at the end of the video, like if you still believe in what you believe in, that's cool. The whole point of this is to just talk and express things. So
yeah.
it's not a matter of us as Trump supporters convincing Kamala supporters to vote Trump or vice versa, really. I mean, I know that
Yeah.
this is the
It's to
first
have the
episode.
conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just to have the
Yep.
conversation. So, like I had mentioned to Kaz earlier, I did come up with some facts and some good points that would defend Kamala. And it's not that, it's, and I don't want to talk bad about either one of the presidents or either one of the candidates, I should say, because it's I don't want it to become how it is now with Kamala and Donald Trump, because right now it's literal cutthroat. So
Yeah.
it's now not so much of how can you benefit me as a citizen of the U.S. It's don't vote for Donald Trump because he's a fascist and a dictator and a this and a that. Don't vote for Kamala because she's dumb. She's a
Figurehead, a
you get the
puppet,
picture.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. It's we want to there's plenty of vitriol and combative rhetoric and crap online.
Mhm.
I hope that y'all have already had your fill of that and that this can be, somewhat of a breath of fresh air. And not to detract too much from the point of where Mugen was going with this, but the two impeachments were acquitted. The judicial system, words are hard. It did its job. And a real quick point there is to remember that we do have a three-branch government. We have the executive, legislative, and judicial branches that are all meant to keep each other in line. And in this way, the judicial system was doing its job checking the executive branch, but also realizing that, this is not proper, and they acquit it, and he's good and moves on to bring us to record low inflation, record low unemployment, a lot of good things. Like, a lot of folks want to pretend that the economy was somehow horrible at the end of his office. Well, you forget that we got hit by this stupid little thing called COVID-19 that decided to come in and wreck shit. And we
Mhm.
will use some language because we're all grown adults here.
I'm
So,
hoping.
I mean, well, yeah. And
I'm
if you're not,
hoping.
we're not gonna. If you're not, we're not gonna use words that you should run away from. Words are words. You give them the power by letting them affect you. So, I hope that helps a little bit. And you enjoy just the candid nature of how we talk and how we go back and forth. There's never the intent to offend, and
Mhm.
yeah, call us out if we do. If you don't like it, I mean, free to do that. Back on the COVID topic, though, we had that massive increase in unemployment and issues that started, right as Biden was taking office. He was handed a shit pie. It sucks that is what
Mhm.
Biden had to inherit. It's not that he inherited something bad from Trump. It's that he inherited a worldwide catastrophe that was just beginning to lend its tendrils
Mhm.
in and mess everything up. That's why I also don't think that it makes a whole lot of sense to put all of the blame and issue onto Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary or
Mhm.
secretary of transportation, however you want to say that, because he was often criticized for airline issues and train derailments and these things. But if you actually take a second to go and check instead of running with what you've heard, you realize that these were also influenced by the issue of the pandemic and the train derailment thing, not to derail the conversation, was actually due to bad regulation before Trump was, or either when Trump was in office or just before, where they didn't update the braking systems.
Mhm.
There's a whole lot of detail to go into with all that. And that's the beautiful thing about having this information age we do now, where you can go and look that stuff up. And I encourage everybody to do so. But toward the end of Trump's office and the start of Biden's, that unemployment that had skyrocketed came all the way back down almost to baseline as Biden took over.
Yeah.
So he already did a lot of the bulwark there in returning to baseline or returning to normal. So things were good in that first tenure, that 2016 to 2020. Perfect? No. Issues? Of course. Hello, real world.
Yeah.
But not as bad or horrible as some seem to misremember it. And I say that intentionally.
Yeah. Now with that, and I kind of want to highlight something on that too. Like when Trump came into office, think about all of the things. Like we've already got the impeachment, all right? We've already got the impeachment. Then you have COVID. Then he had COVID. Like then it's like there was a trickle effect. Like there was a lot of things that were going on, and it just kept going on and going on and going on. And then we were having other countries test us, testing our leadership. And I'm sure that there's quite a few of you that have heard the story of Donald Trump walking into a room with a picture, putting it on the table, with one of the was it the Taliban? I think it was the Taliban. There was a story where Trump had actually met with one of the Taliban leaders, Abdul, and he had placed a satellite image picture of his home on the table, and there was a translator that was with him, and he had stated to the translator, "I have I have a picture of your home," and Abdul's response was, "Why does he have a picture of my home?" And Trump's response was, "If we extract our troops and there's so much of as if there's so much as a scratch on any one of them, we're blowing you up, pretty much. We're killing you and we're killing your family." He did, and he did just that. And there was no fight. He literally, there's been, now mind you, this is stories, this is things that people have said, but this is also coming from military personnel. He got up, he walked out, not a hair hurt on any one of those military men and women. So it's crazy that, like, and that's what I think that we should value in a president, someone who is able to make that tough call. We don't want someone that's going to be like, "Oh, okay, like what do you want in order for us to bring our troops back? Like, why should I have to offer you something in order for me to ask for my troops back without having you hurt them?" There shouldn't be an offer. It should be a simple exchange like that. This is what's going to happen. If this doesn't happen, this is what's going to happen to you. And I can definitely understand, and this is going to kind of lead into the whole like danger and threat rhetoric, and kind of like I guess you can say, like, dictatorship. Like this, I guess people, I can see the kind of behavioral patterns that people can twist that into believing that he would be something like that. I just personally don't feel it, you know.
Uh, and what I see is, you know, dad protecting his kid when a bully is trying to do something.
Yeah.
You're going to be strong. That might not be the best analogy for some folks, but in that instance, and other examples with Putin and Xi Jinping and Kim and North Korea, it's a show of force without needing to actually use force. It's a show
Hmm.
of leadership. It's a show that if you mess with me, I don't know if any of you know the four letters FAFO. It doesn't take you long to figure out what that stands for. You don't get that vibe from Kamala Harris. And there is
Yeah.
a big, big red flag, guys, to the fact that Putin endorsed her. Do you think that Putin is going to endorse a candidate that is going to keep him in check, or somebody that he's going to be able to walk all over? So
I didn't even think of that point, honestly. Like, I didn't
they're
even
not
think
going to
about that.
want the strong guy in the chair
No,
that's going to
no, of
tell
course
them
not.
no.
No. And then
And
and
I,
then you
I think
have
that's really important.
and then you have Kim Jong Un. That's did I say his name right? Is it Kim Jong
Kim
Un?
Jong Un.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it's
Kim
just
Jong Un.
Un at the end.
Un. Oh, Kim Jong. I thought it was Woon or Woon. Anyways,
It
Korea.
wounds me to go over this. No.
They right now, if I'm not mistaken, they are planning to go nuclear. Like they obviously have the technology to go nuclear. I think nuclear weapons right now at this point is just like a bargain sale. Like everybody has access
Nearly
to it, you know. Um,
ubiquitous at this point.
yeah, yeah. So, and one thing that I know about, Trump is that he was the first president to really go in there and actually like meet with him on grounds, Korean
the
grounds,
only
the
the
only
only one to
one.
ever set foot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of crazy because if you think about it, like that man, Kim Jong Un isn't someone to really mess around with. Like he has power, and he can have you unalived. I'll just say that he'll have you unalived really quickly.
God, I
And
hate that word.
I
He
know
kill you dead.
until he kill you dead.
Kill you dead so you die from it.
But he took it, and I honestly, and the way that I think about it is, I mean, I can see Trump do it because he's already done it. Can you see Kamala do it? Can you see Kamala going in and having that conversation with him? And I'm gonna say this, and this is not, again, not to argue with some of the people that are voting for Kamala. This is just from perspective. So this, if you look at some of her interviews, and she doesn't have, first off, she does a lot of laughing, and I don't know if that's just how she is, and maybe that she's trying to kind of project a
You're
certain
relatable.
aura, yeah, and be relatable. But if you're in Korea and you're in a serious situation, I just don't feel like she would do well trying to negotiate or come to common grounds with one of our enemies, or even someone that we're aligned with.
She
Like,
won't even make the trip there. That's one of the things that would be a big problem. It's going to be submission by absence in a
yeah.
way. You're just not showing up to have the conversation. I mean, if you can't have legitimate adversarial interviews for the election, are you going
Hmm.
to be able to sit down in a room with Putin, Ping, Kim, and actually have a serious conversation? I mean, I would like to think she could. She's been in this space long enough to have developed her ideas, to have formulated her own
Hmm.
policies, to have her own opinions. But all I seem to see, and maybe you as well, I don't want to speak for everybody, is somebody who is in panic mode without a prompter or someone in her ear.
All the time.
And that's a problem. That's a
Hmm.
problem. I know I've had some folks say, is it really that bad to be rehearsed? There's a difference between being prepared,
And
knowing your
being
subject
rehearsed.
matter, and
Hmm.
being completely rehearsed. Actors that pretend to be people rehearse and perfect and make really cool movies. That's awesome.
Yep.
People who go into decision making rooms need to know thoroughly what they're talking about and have confidence in their information and have a plan and a strategy and be able to execute on it and demand that sort of respect, or command that sort of respect, rather. And I don't get
Hmm.
that vibe from her. I see somebody who is, unfortunately, and this not really a fault of her, but of what has become of the Democratic Party, is just this bloated machine. And she's one of the cogs in it.
There is something that kind of like came to mind when you started saying that, because she's kind of like, some people, I'm not saying all, some people may find her to be a puppet, for
Mhm.
other people that are working in the background.
Sure, yeah.
So in this particular case, when things like that happen and she's without a teleprompt, or she doesn't know her policies, or things like that, it kind of makes me ever it kind of makes me feel bad for her in a degree to a degree, only because I feel like she's getting to the point where she's biting off more than she can chew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's like I have to backpedal. I have to figure something out, like, and whatever. And then, and that's kind of like, it kind of worries me, because it's, when you start to divulge into information, and you're avidly, like, watching videos, and that's one thing. So for those of you, for context, like, that's what a lot of what Kaz and I do. We send each other videos constantly, every day, whether they're 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, sometimes even more than that. We actually sit down and watch them, and if not, at least play them in the background so we can listen to know what the context is. Except that Elon Musk video that you sent me, I'm sorry. So, if you look at some of the videos with Kamala, you can see a lot of the body language that she projects, what her true intentions are, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
there was a
Body language or nonverbal communication is huge. You
mm-hmm.
can get a lot from somebody by what they're not saying,
Yep.
or what they're showing versus her thing. We got to look
Yes.
here at the
Mm-hmm.
at what's really
Mm-hmm.
happening as she goes into her thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you can pay attention to with the cracks in her voice, the uncomfortable laughter, or the way she'll take a question that's really uncomfortable and sort of laugh it off, go into
The
a story, and then
mm-hmm.
yeah,
The
there.
head shaking is what gets me. Like there was
Oh,
a interview.
the
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she
yeah,
goes, "I'm
yeah.
for the people." Yes, I am. Yes, I am for the people.
With
How are
that
you gonna
little kind
say?
of
Yeah, yeah. She's shaking her head no, but saying I am for the people. She is. I'm not gonna go. This is on echo chambered, but in my
she
opinion,
may be herself, but she's not at the behest of just her.
yeah.
She
Mm-hmm.
is, again, I think, the figurehead, the front runner of this overall machine that is doing what it wants, and she has to represent that. And that's where
Obama.
I feel bad for her. Oh, you think? Yeah, I haven't done enough research there to get into that, which I love. I mean, hey, feel free to hit us in the comments and all that and everything we're
Mm-hmm.
saying here. Like, um, as our first episode too, we're also kind of introducing you all to where we're at, where our heads at with what we've seen and all. So I think it's important for everyone to know that like anything in science, like anything in testing, I am open to new data, to new information,
Mm-hmm.
to correcting what is going on. That doesn't mean I'll
100%.
arrive to the same conclusion and agree, but we can still say, like, yes, these two things are true, but for other reasons, I'm still here. I mean, that's kind of an aside, but
Yeah.
I feel bad for her because I feel like she's not really able to truly run as a real presidential candidate as
Mm-hmm.
herself
Yeah.
with her career experience. I mean, I would love to have been proven wrong when she came into office. I mean, first off, not to derail too much, the fact that we were landed with her instead of having an actual democratic
Mm-hmm.
process, threat to democracy ringing a bell? There's a lot of this rhetoric.
Yeah.
We were not even able to go through a sort of speed run primary that I saw first brought up by Jason Calcanis on the All In Pod. Awesome for you guys to go check out. If you haven't, great stuff. They argue a lot with each other and it's hilarious. I love it. But he had made the prediction that there would be like a speed run primary where you would have like Buttigieg, Newsom, Pritzker,
Yep.
Harris. Like you would have all these guys go through a speed primary so we could vote. Buttigieg had my vote from day one. And researching the guy, I mean, he was the one I wanted to be the figurehead of the Democratic Party, and being a moderate, he could rebuild the Democratic Party, pull it from the fringe that is the Newsom, Harris, Biden administration, the Elizabeth Warrens and such, get it away from that and bring it back to a center, of where more people are like, I can get on board with this. This makes sense. We
Yeah.
didn't get that. We got landed with Kamala and then just run into the rest of this race.
Mm-hmm.
And had she actually had the chance to debate and kind of earn that spot, maybe I would feel differently.
Yeah. So I want to kind of like elaborate some points on that, and this is gonna go back to this is gonna kind of reflect the past a little bit. Okay, so we had a candidate. All right, we had Joe Biden. Joe Biden was originally like going to be running with Donald Trump. They were going to go back and forth. He fell off. Kamala, bam, like force fed down our throats, right? So we've got that. Now I'm going to read you a quote. I'm going to read you a quote and tell me this does not okay, so listen, all right? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Does that quote to you sound familiar?
Oh, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Trump
Yep.
originally said that back in the 2020 election. He has never openly stated that he would terminate the Constitution. This statement that he made about the termination was simply about the election in 2020 and there being a widespread of fraud and deception. This
And
fraud.
to provide just a little quick aside for the folks on the other side, with regard to election fraud in 2020 and the January 6th issue and everything there, that's a different conversation. The main point is Trump was alleged to have said he would terminate the Constitution, when in fact what he said was that this fraud, for it to be allowed to have happened,
Mhm.
is the thing that basically invalidates the Constitution and all these rules. I think there's
Exactly.
a misunderstanding there.
Yeah, yeah. So like it would be like I would think like such fraud would necessitate the immediate and drastic action to rectify the situation, potentially bypass or temporarily suspend certain constitutional or legal norms to address what Trump thought was a threat to the electoral system. So this was essentially like him pretty much just saying like, we need to fix this. Like there's no way that this was right for him in his eyes. So it's just, you're talking about rules and regulations and how we need to follow the process for voting and how we should introduce candidates and how they should become candidates. But then it's like, all right, here you go. This is Kamala Harris. She's going to be the one that's running. She's already vice president.
We're gonna keep all of our political donations.
Exactly. We're gonna keep all our political rotations, and she's gonna be the one that's continuing this road with for Joe Biden. And it's funny because on that note too, there was a recent interview with this woman. I don't recall her name. But there was a recent interview with this woman. She was interviewing Kamala Harris, and she said the whole reason why you're here is because Joe Biden's not as a runner. And she goes, no,
That was a CNN host, wasn't it?
I'm here. It was a CNN host, which is mind blowing to me because like
Yeah.
typically CNN is kind of like pretty far left leaning, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, sure. They're just really tired of her word salad and answer dodging. They've come right out and said that.
Yeah.
It's with the way she'll, say the words got to get done 6 times before getting to any sort of point.
We
This
gotta
is
get
what
it
we
done.
have to do.
This is
And
what
what we have
get
to
done.
do is do this because this is what we have to do. Like that is not an answer. That is a filibuster. That is going to melt the clock
Yeah.
and cause you to move on. And everyone else is going, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Did I
Like,
miss the the answer there?
exactly. And the thing is like you can tell me about your policies all day long, but like how are you going to do it? Like that's what
Well,
we're trying
that's the
to.
thing. I don't think we've even got a policy.
There's a few. I'm glad that you said that actually. So there's a few and I actually got them written down. So I'm going to say a few. All right. So
All right.
we've got the first one is going to be the economic policies. Otherwise known
Kind of
as
important.
the opportunity economy. She promised to build an opportunity economy aimed to strengthen the middle class, which includes policies like mortgages assistance, first-time home buyers, tax credits for parents or of newborns, and measures to combat inflation, like banning price gouging and at grocery stores. So this kind of goes into the whole
That sounds like price control.
yeah. Yeah, this kind of goes into the whole thing where she's like, I've gone up against, big corporate companies before, I can do it again.
You mean the line that she says over and over that she's prosecuted criminals and gone over? Yeah, it's her go. It's
Yeah.
one of our go-tos. Yeah,
Then we have healthcare and social policies. This is going to be having to do with strengthening Medicare and protecting the Affordable Care Act, indicating a focus on healthcare and accessibility and affordability. So this is going to be for our a majority of our like seniors. Racial and gender equity.
racial and gender equity. That's how
Equity. That's how it's.
it's. Ooh,
That's what it was
equity
said.
is such a dirty word.
It is. It is. Policies specifically aimed at black men include providing 1 million loans to black entrepreneurs, health initiatives targeting diseases like prostate cancer, and protecting crypto investments, reflecting a targeted approach towards racial equity in business and health. Now, that was one of the policies, but I only heard one gender and I only heard one color. So, I mean, not that I'm
Yeah.
against it. Everybody should have their own. Everybody should, be eligible for things. And
I think this puts us into a really important talking point, which is DEI versus merit-based achievements.
agreed. Yep.
Like I don't think it should be you work hard, you progress.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
It should be colorblind, gender blind, all the blinds you can think of. And that isn't to say that you're just like, well, I just don't see color. Like, no, it's a more mature thing than that. It's that with regard to progress or to work, to advancement, to inclusion in things, it is based on not what you look like, where you come from, what genitalia you have, but what you do.
Yeah. What you've accomplished. 100%.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
That is the basis of merit. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of folks, when they try to make it sound like, we just think that folks that aren't, or let's say another way to put this would be, because I've seen it brought up many times, where someone says that to say we don't want DEI
Mm.
is to say we don't want inclusion, or to say the issue with it is that we think the people that would be included with DEI are somehow dumber. We'll just be
Yeah.
blunt, or less
Yeah.
less capable. That is no, that's a red herring. That is not the case. It is that it lowers the standards, not saying the individual themselves are lower quality. It lowers the bar to get in, which
Yeah.
means that regardless of what you are, who you are, where you're from, what you have, you don't have to work as hard to get there,
Mm-hmm.
which diminishes the quality of the product, whether it's a healthcare professional, whether it's engineering, whatever it may be. So
Yeah.
merit-based achievement being the most important thing, I don't see a whole lot of use in this over focus on equity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I
I don't know what
definitely
your thoughts
agree.
are on that.
No, I definitely agree. I really honestly feel like if you're gonna lower the bar, it's kind of like buying something. It's gonna sound so bad, but it's kind of like buying something from China. It's like you get it, it works, but it doesn't have longevity. Like it's not gonna.
I
It's
think
not.
that's an accurate analogy,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. Like it's not gonna go for the long haul. Eventually, you're gonna have to replace it because you got its use.
Yeah.
And
Now, if somehow in the midst of what we just said, you somehow heard in any way that that means we think that people of different ethnicities are not good for longevity, then
mm,
you're the problem. You're
yeah.
not hearing what is actually being said.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the individual, it is the skill set, the accomplishment, the drive, the reliability of the individual, regardless of everything else.
Yeah.
It is, in fact, more of a racial divide or divisive issue when you hyper focus
Mm-hmm.
on even hyper focus, hope, blah, words, even hyper focusing on one specific group over another, where it might sound justified, like, yes, justice for whatever's happened over hundreds of years from white people. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, now to turn that around and make white people the enemy, how's that better?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is just perpetuating the same bullshit.
Exactly.
It's regardless at the end of the day, it's merit in what you do. At least that is my very strongly held belief in this. Maybe it's the military in me there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Work hard,
I
progress.
I definitely want to state too, and this is just so like people can kind of have an understanding of us as people, like him and I. So we are we are not in by no means like racist in any way. Like I'm very open, like just for some kind of context and kind of share some like personal information. Like we're both straight men. We have wives.
Mhm.
I have a wife. I have two beautiful kids. Me and this dude went clubbing at gay clubs all the time. Like
Yeah,
we went to gay clubs.
Parliament House
Yep.
in Florida. I mean,
Yep.
that place was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
So
also a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race.
yeah.
Like, my wife and I love it. We go to Bianca Del Rio's comedy shows because it's freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet Chad Michaels and Mayhem Miller at a gay club in a
Mayhem
drag
Miller.
show. Yes, I got to
That's
meet
dope.
Mayhem Miller and have a conversation after too, because we were all chilling after that. We didn't realize, my wife and I, that we were actually talking to one of Mayhem's like oldest friends.
That's dope.
And after we're up at the bar and Mayhem comes over, gives us a hug, and we just like geek out. It
Yeah.
was awesome. Like,
That's
you
so
might
cool.
not like looking at this white dude with a beard and a defund gun control hat. No,
Yeah.
I love it. Like, I lived in Hillcrest in the gay community, got catcalled more than my wife, and would rub it in her face because, yeah, what's up?
Hell
it's
yeah.
it's yeah, it is funny when we bump into folks on X sometimes or in other conversations where they just make this assumption that we're just like fat racist white dudes or some shit, and it's like,
Yeah. Like I don't want
this is part
anybody
of the
to
problem.
be exactly. That's exactly it. Like I don't want everybody to be put in like a barrel, I guess you can say. Like don't put everybody in the
Yeah.
same barrel because everybody's different. Everybody has their own reasons for voting. It's not that I'm a bigot or I'm an idiot or I'm racist and I don't have any black friends, and I do have black friends. Um and
We got one that's kind of black.
He's kind of black. He's black and Spanish. He likes to think that his lower half is black, but it's really not. Um, that's going in. That's staying in.
Oh, so yeah, love
um,
you, man.
so, um, but it's like I'm a very open-minded individual. Like we've got my neighbors. I love my neighbors. My
They're
neighbors
cool as
are
hell.
a
I've
gay
met them.
couple. It's a gay couple. One of them is transgender, which I have nothing against. I feel like everybody should live their life and make their own choices. They're voting for Kamala, which sometimes when we talk about, well, the first time that we actually talked about it, it was kind of a little heated, just a little bit, because it became more of like an emotional factor than anything. But then like after that first time, it was something that like we were actually able to work together on and come up with like ideas on how it would be better to benefit the world. Mind blowing, right? The fact that
Okay.
two sides of like a coin can like work together in conjunction and come up with solutions, it's crazy,
Well,
and one
that's a
of
little too progressive for me, man. I
I
don't
know.
know.
I'll slow it down just a little bit, but a lot of the
Jeez.
things that we were talking about was like immigration control, like or immigration and border control, like that was one of the thoughts was, let's just say someone from outside of the U.S. comes in here and has a child, and that person gets caught and then gets deported. What happens to that child? That child is now in the system, right? You're splitting up a family essentially. So,
Yeah.
I was telling them, it's that's why we should come up with policies specifically for certain things like that. Like when the whole point of immigration and border control is because these people do not have, and I say that lightly, like don't be that person where I'm saying these people and they're like, what do you mean these people? It's not like that. So these people that are coming into our country, they don't have like any type of identification. They don't have social security numbers like we do. Like we have a database where everybody is in it. Everybody is accounted for. Now let's go ahead and put in like 10 million people. So we've got 10 million people coming in. Not one of them has a social security number, but they are giving government assistance. They are given, tens of thousands of dollars, for home, for food, for it's crazy. But the one of the systems that we thought about was, maybe they, if instead of just immediately deporting someone, maybe they should go through a process to become a US citizen, and
Like if they have a child in the U.S. that's like a
yeah,
natural born citizen to
exactly.
fast track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that makes sense if we can get the resources in place
exactly.
for
And it
sure.
and the thing was is like I would, and I told him, I said, the first 6 months, I think that it should be like a year thing. Like it should take a year for you to become a US citizen, and you don't get deported unless you've committed some type of crime. And I'm not talking about like
Yeah, and
tickets. I'm talking about like theft, killing, like any of that, like the big things.
yes, yeah, yeah, and I'm like yeah, like a speeding ticket or rolling a stop sign. I wouldn't be like get him out of here, because that would be a lot of Americans. Let's just say.
Yeah, no doubt.
Um, I guess in a sense, common sense stuff. I mean, common sense is such a overused, misused term when it comes to a lot of this stuff that it feels
Hmm.
weird to even say it. But I mean, yeah, I think there's a very large need for immigration reform, and I do agree with JD Vance and the right side's approach, which is to seal the border. Which there are folks gonna be like, but it is. Yeah, after you
But
let
it
through
is.
millions of people, it's
Hmm.
like opening the door to let a swarm of bees in, and then closing the door and going, "We're fine. Out. We're fine. Shit. Out. We're fine." It's like, no, you let
Yeah.
them in already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just made an analogy with humans to bees. Get over it. It's not racist. I don't know how you got there. Stop it. Get off your phone right now. No, I ju- it's just to cover up the problem at the end, like right before the election, which is something I've noticed she's done a lot, or at
Hmm.
least that side's done a lot. It's like, oh, all of a sudden, no fracking.
She's
Oh, all of a sudden, we have guns. Oh, all of a sudden, we're closing the border and locking this shit down. Seems a little desperate to
all
appeal
of a
to
sudden I'm the
those that
border
are already
czar. I'm
like,
not the border czar.
yeah, yeah. this has been fine. We're good. Yeah, all the children that are lost in the system, which is true. Don't just
Hmm.
dismiss that. There are hundreds of thousands. Yeah, hundreds of thousands. Check it. Get on Grok and
Yeah,
Chat GPT and look up the amount of undocumented children that
it's
are not
crazy,
accounted for.
dude. It's so crazy. They're coming in with
And there have
vans, dude. Vans. Like
Yeah, and
people are
they're
video
released to their
casing this.
sponsors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
No,
Yep. Yep.
that's
No,
another
man.
word for trafficking.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
so
it's a
bad.
big problem. And to say, oh, that whatever, that's so you're blowing it out of proportion. No, that is dismissing a very serious issue. That is hand waving something that even if it was just very likely to be true or partially likely, any likelihood of that being true is
Mm-hmm.
worth taking seriously, of not just hand waving off. It needs to be investigated. It needs to be checked. And if it turns out, yeah, these kids are fine, they're with auntie and uncle over there. Cool.
Yeah.
Auntie and uncle aren't trafficking them. You got to give this the proper level of
And
scrutiny and
yeah.
attention.
And it should be something that's like that subject in particular should have nothing to do, absolutely zero to do with Kamala or Trump. This is something that as
Agreed.
a country that we need to just be like, all right, it's not at the fault of anybody specifically, but we need to figure out where these kids are, because the last thing that we
Yeah.
need to do
Yeah.
is find out that someone got hurt at a Diddy party, and I'm not
Right?
there's a lot of talk about Diddy, but I mean, I honestly strongly believe that he has a lot of influence in what's going on. But to kind of speak a little bit on the border and the kind of immigration thing, and there was a recent interview where Kamala specifically stated that the the border wall is stupid, and even called Trump out regarding that. She shared her views on the border walls, emphasizing how the wall is not practical or humane solution for immigration or border security, and kind of calling out Trump and kind of being like, haha, like you told them that they were gonna pay for the wall, and guess what? They didn't. And it's funny because although they did not pay for the wall, Mexico did agree to provide 1.5 billion dollars for improving border security in a joint effort aimed to modernize the border infrastructures. So it's
No small number.
it isn't. It isn't a small number. So, like, although, like, yeah, they're not building the wall to do it, but you're giving them the tools now that they need to get the job done. Like, I'm sorry, dude, but you're not gonna get the job done with one dude every 500 miles with a rifle. Like, that's not how it's gonna
Not
get done.
reasonable.
No, it's not. Now, the wall, is it a little much? Me personally, I kind of feel like it is. It is. I can understand it. I definitely understand it. Because without a secure border, we're not a country. We're not.
Yeah.
We're easily accessible to anyone, and I'm pretty sure, actually, not maybe not verbatim, but I'm pretty sure Elon Musk said that, something along
Oh,
those
he's
lines.
he's said it several times. If you don't have a border, you're not a country. And
No,
that's just actually true. You
no.
don't look through civilizations in the past that didn't care about their borders and see that they had any success. Or another way to put that is the civilizations that saw success had strong borders,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
had a good military. They had law and order. They also had a lot more babies.
Yeah.
Because the decline in population is another really big issue there.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the big things that is mentioned, I see it mentioned plenty of the time, but seems to be overlooked by folks who don't want to really talk about it, is that, and it goes hand in hand with the whole like, oh no, the border's good now, it's closed, we're good. I've often equated the way that the Biden administration and well now like the maybe Harris administration has talked about how they've caught terrorists or criminals or they've closed it up. It's like, okay, that to me is the equivalent of you picking up dog shit off of the lawn. Your dog shat, and now you're cleaning it up. That is not the same as solving a problem that
Mm-hmm.
you didn't just see happen because you let your dog go onto that lawn and do its business. You know what I mean? Like, you can't post hoc take credit for something that you're the cause of the problem. And
Yeah.
it's folks will go back and try to say that, oh well, I mean, what about Trump and the border when he was in there? And it's,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta stop trying to counter a question with what about the other guy? regardless of whether or not
Yes.
the other guy actually did better or worse.
Preach.
What you're doing is committing a tu quoque fallacy, which is, yeah, but they're bad too.
Yeah.
That's
For
not a relevant response.
for those of you that have siblings, you know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's the blame the brother or
Blame the
sister
brother or
stuff.
sister. Exactly. You know,
But
like
even on top of that, the main point I'm getting at is that there were 90 plus executive order removals from the
yeah, there
Biden
were a lot.
administration relating to the border,
Hmm.
remain in Mexico, and all those. They were just executive orders to remove them and open up the border. That is deliberate action. It's either deliberate action or complete incompetence, neither of which
Or
are to be
acceptable.
celebrated
Exactly.
or acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so to now try to be like, oh yeah, no, we've closed it. We're good. We already have the millions of illegal immigrants here that'll saturate, our voting capabilities in future elections. Oh no, I said it. Uh-oh.
Here's the here's the rug, honey. Can you get me the broom, please?
Yeah, let's just take care of this real quick.
Sweep that.
And I think I would love your thoughts on this because Elon's brought it up a lot, and there's going to be a lot of things that people don't agree with. And hey, newsflash to everybody: Elon's human. He does not get everything right. He says a lot of wrong things. He admits this. His goal is to be less wrong. You can critique his way of going about it and his reach and what he says all you want. That's fine. We should hold him accountable. But we also need to be accountable of what we believe and what we decide to take to our neighbor or our family and say, hey, did you hear about this thing?
Mm-hmm.
We need to keep all that in check. But the main point I want to get back to is that Elon's mentioned this a few times, and I'd love your thoughts on this, as well as anybody who's listening still at this point. Thank you for being here with us, by the way. He's mentioned that this is a deliberate move from the left to bring in millions of illegal immigrants, rapidly accelerate them in the process of becoming legal, which sounds great because now you're legal citizens. This is awesome. We got everyone's legal now and we're fine, except for the fact that now these swing states have a few million people legally able to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And you've removed swing state. You removed swing from that moniker. It's no longer a swing state. It is now another California, New York, population blue.
Gosh,
now,
so terrible.
You can very quickly write that off, put the tinfoil hat on me, whatever you want to do with that. But again, kind of like the kids that are missing from the border, you should put some level of scrutiny and skepticism to this enough to look into it and to think about it just logically. It doesn't take a whole lot when you legalize a bunch of people that you let in, even if it was not everybody, but a majority of them are probably going to feel some sort of gratitude or need to represent, or in a really dark sense, and I hope this is never the case, could be a condition of getting their legal status, voting blue. And now you have taken away the ability for there to be any swing states or any way to really win. And now, as Elon said, as some others have said in the Trump, Vance, and such, and David Sachs and all, you become a single party state. We're no longer a representative democracy at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
We are a statewide California that you can't just move away from, like you fortunately can right now. If you want to get out of California, it's expensive. I did it, but you can get out of there. But if the whole country becomes California, I mean, maybe if we got that climate, that might be worth it. I don't know.
That'd be about
70-degree year-round weather.
Oh yeah,
that might
100%. Except that random heat wave.
I understand. Yeah, no, I understand that might for a lot of folks just be too much. But I recommend rewind and listen to it again. Look into it because it's a problem. If it did actualize, and I'm saying if, I'm not saying when, I'm not saying it's the main motive, but it is a non-zero outcome, or there's a non-zero chance that it can happen. And that means that should be scary because we need to preserve liberty and the right to be able to vote and choose how things go. And that's why getting involved at your local level, state, local governments and all is really important. But what do you think?
A lot of this, I am worried. I am definitely worried because with, and that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting with some of the immigrants that are coming in is that they're going to be more biased to a party now because of the party that brought them in. They're kind of feels like they're flying them in by the drones, And I kind of want to highlight a little bit on Elon Musk for just a brief second, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, Elon Musk this, Elon Musk that. He's also an immigrant. He was the first person to have a rocket land on a pad in the middle of an ocean. Like,
Yeah, and lately, for anybody who's not seen it, catch a damn
hot.
rocket
I
with a
was just,
tower.
yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh my gosh.
It's
And I
nuts.
want to actually add to what you said to bring the point a little bit further that the majority of immigrants are going to be good people and
Yeah.
hardworking people that get jobs done. It's not to detract from that, but it's the legal part of it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I feel like, honestly, this is going to be kind of like, this will eventually, I'm not saying that it's, if, I mean, if it at all happens, this will eventually start to chip away at our constitution. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're trying to, so we have a group of people that are trying to create a particular narrative, and they're playing the long game. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm
Yes.
feeling. They're playing the
This
long
isn't
game.
new. This has been
Yeah.
happening for
Since
many decades.
Abraham Lincoln got shot in the head at a theater. Like, that's like, it's old, man. Like, and it's, they're trying to play this narrative, and they're trying to keep control, and they're trying to keep control of us. It's not a matter of, how do I explain this? So they're going to be taking several different things away from us if things start to work their way. Like, you've already got countries that are, banning guns. They're taking away certain rights. They were upset that Elon Musk took X and made it a freedom of speech platform. Like, you're mad because you're letting me practice my given right. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Which is not the
crazy.
case in other countries.
Yeah,
To my knowledge, we're the only country that has a Second Amendment right to bear arms.
yeah,
There's a very
yeah.
good reason for that.
We are. Yeah, and from a supporter standpoint, in which I've seen, her legal background, her oath taking ceremonies, like explicit statements on upholding constitutions that were highlighted, they could argue that her actions could be a take of a more like modern fit of the Constitution with like how everything is progressing. In this particular case, though, there have been like voices primarily from the conservative words outlets, suggesting that her actions or statements made by Kamala may indicate like disregard for like constitutional norms or processes. So points on various issues such as like immigration, gun control, and executive actions that could potentially overstep constitutional boundaries. Some people can say like at this point in the election, like it's literally a matter of picking the lesser of two evils, and this is why it's important, and why we like encourage you, do your own research, dig, find things on the internet, and whatever. Don't be that person that's just like force fed the bullshit that the media tells you, because there's going to be things that like if I was a Kamala Harris person, I would I would try not to listen to the like all the bad shit that she's said. I would try and
Sure.
dig
Yeah.
for like the good things, and vice versa for Trump. Like I know of his flaws. I've accepted his flaws, and the
It's an
reason
important
why
point too.
I chose him, yeah, like I get that he's whatever, the felon bullshit. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of his fucking charges were dropped. Like, get the fuck over it, dude. And it's
Yeah.
funny because I watched a video. Oh, and you know what? Actually, before I even get to that, so this don't be force fed what like the media tells you, because the game of politics kind of leaves the public in kind of like a muddle. So trying to discern the true intention, so you're trying to kind of like discern the true intentions of the candidates. So with that being said, like there's talk about how Trump is a felon, he's a danger and threat to democracy, he wants to become a dictator, all of this stuff. And it's funny because like I watched a video, and this person said specifically, he goes, "You guys you guys are so quick to make a felon a father, but you guys can't vote for a felon." Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So, and it was kind of funny, and kind of like it was it was a black dude. He was jacked, man. You should have seen him. It was a black dude, and he goes, you can make all these felons like fathers. He goes, but you have a problem with voting for a felon. He goes, that just doesn't make sense to me. But whatever. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's frustrating too because a lot of people will get hooked on that, and it, in a large way, might not be exactly uh, correlated to this example, but there's a string of fallacious reasoning in discourse known as ad hominem, where you assassinate somebody's character traits. You make
yeah,
them out to be this horrible thing.
hmm
And usually that sort of argument goes, well, this person has done or said these horrible things. How could you, as a good person, possibly support this person? That makes no sense because you're trying to latch on to something that isn't relevant to the bigger picture,
hmm
which in this case, I think shared in our opinion, is the preservation of the constitutional rights we have, specifically the First and Second Amendments being the main two that come to mind. The others are all important. It's weighing what is at stake. And it's hilarious to see in a more ironic sense, not a truly funny sense, but kind of a sad sense that you see this threat to democracy rhetoric and constitutional threat rhetoric from both sides.
hmm
From me now explaining that Trump is the better choice and that the administration that we currently have is a threat to our constitution, and then from her side that Trump is the threat to the constitution.
yeah,
And it's hard to sometimes parse out where the truth is there.
hmm
But I think in that regard, not to get off of your point, just kind of gets into paying attention to the previous track record of what Kamala has sported pretty much her entire career when it comes
100%.
to her position on guns and fracking and anything else she's flipped on
They
to have
haven't
seen
changed.
more.
Her values have not changed.
No, to
She's still a
say
middle
they
class
have is
person.
one thing.
Sorry, I had to do it. I had to
She's
do it.
still a middle class person. My
I had to do
mom
it.
worked really hard to,
Was
sorry.
it the mom or was it the nanny?
No,
I'm confused. I don't know.
I
It
don't
was a
know.
sister. I
I'm
was there a
I'm too
grandmother in the
busy
picture?
waiting to hear about how she's actually going to do something constructive versus the constant script that seems to be in front of her.
Man, it's crazy. It is crazy. This year, this election year is going to be nuts. There's things that are going to be tested. Constitutional rights are going to be tested. There's going to be, depending, of course, on how the outcome goes. Now, the one point that I wanted to bring up is how one person shows emotion while the other one continues to. So there's a good way and a bad way of doing things, like everybody knows. Like we've got when Kamala Harris gets into a room and she goes in an interview and she's challenged, she answers with emotion. She answers with
Yes.
anger. She answers with anger. And the thing
She's
is
trying
is
to
like,
appeal to that emotion of the people she's talking to. Yeah.
exactly, and then we also have, oh, you know what, that brings me to another point. Oh my gosh, I gotta get to that. So then you also have, Trump, who is dealing with all the whole judicial system and trying to people are trying to like take him out of the race, due to like the, what is it, two or three attempts of assassination. And then we've got the
Not at all caused by all the combative danger dictator rhetoric from the other side or anything.
exactly.
That's not radicalizing people into violent action.
Isn't it funny
No.
too? Wasn't there a note that was left? There was a note left by one of the assassins stating something like, "Now it's your turn to finish the job," or some shit like that. Yeah, there was
That's news to
something.
me.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it kind of.
There's a lot of that echoed in the social media sphere too from people that
Yeah,
are like, he missed,
yeah,
and it's
exactly.
just, come on now.
It's so bad. Like the fact that you would want someone dead is terrible, because I honestly, like, in Trump's presidency, I don't remember
It
anything
wasn't
bad.
that bad,
It
guys.
really wasn't. He was too busy
It
fighting off
wasn't
everybody
so
else.
bad that you should be trying. I can't imagine. I mean, you can imagine scenarios where somebody would want somebody to no longer exist, but it's nothing to do with his
Unalived.
presidency between 2016 and 2020. Well, see, the beautiful thing about putting this on X is we can just say murdered. Ha!
Yeah,
I said the word,
get
YouTube.
fucked.
Come on. Jeez.
Listen, we're just being retards. Sorry.
Yep.
Um, But yeah, dude. So there was an interview, and it was I don't know if it was a town hall or not, but it was Liz Cheney, Kamala Harris, and there was this young woman that had stood up and asked a question about um the guns and whatever. And I'm gonna be honest, like my personal view on guns, there there is a level of gun control that should be upheld, but it's not in the way of like this person should only have but so many guns. It's not even that. Like if I want 100 guns, I'm going to fucking get 100 guns. Period. Like that's me. The what I mean by that is the process. I believe, yes, there should be some type of like mental evaluation to make sure that you're not going to go and fucking go to a school and kill kids. Like that's something that, I have
Yeah.
kids. I have kids, dude. Like I get so scared. I get so scared that my kids are not going to come home to me one day because some little asshole kid was being bullied, or actually, let me rewind that. Not the asshole kid that's being bullied, the assholes that bullied the kid, that made him get to the point where he's like, let me take my daddy or mommy's gun and take it to school and hurt everybody, like, so
It highlights a really important point with gun control too. I want to circle back to.
yeah. So she asked, she goes, so with what's going on in the world, like how do you plan on with like gun controls? And mind you, she didn't really answer the question. And she did state, this is kind of going back on like acting on feelings, and kind of like entertaining other people's feelings. So she stated, oh, that's so terrible. Like how, I went and I was doing, so she was at a college, and she was doing an event, and she said that somebody walked up to her and she goes, I am so scared, of doing these active shooter drills, and I'm scared to go to fifth period. And she goes, oh honey, Kamala says, oh honey, why are you afraid to go to fifth period? And she said that the person stated that it's because that there's no closets. Like, okay, first of all, like if I'm an active shooter, I'm not gonna not open up a closet. You know what I mean? Like cover your bases,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's she then went to say, that's terrible. Like what age group, is your child? And the child was in elementary school. I think she was like first grade or kindergarten. It was like one of like just starting, and
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be honest, like that as a parent myself, that is when you are gonna have to accept reality. Period. Like you're gonna have to accept the reality that someone at your school, at your daughter or your son's school, is going to teach them that if something happens, this is what you need to do. I am totally okay with my kids going through an active shooter scenario. Absolutely. Yes. I don't want
Yeah.
my
That's
son
called
to.
training.
Yes, dude. Like, I don't want my son to go out in the middle of a hallway and be like, he's got a gun. And then, like, boom, he's done. Like, no, dude. Like, if you hear on the intercom, there is an active shooter here, please take your precautions.
We had
And
those drills growing up. I
yeah,
remember them.
dude. Yeah, man. And,
Those were
Kamala.
actually some of the more exciting days because it disrupted the
Oh hell yeah, dude!
curriculum.
I was out of social studies, out of social studies, um,
Yep.
but then the thing that aggravated me the most is like I can't say this because I'm not that old, but Kamala made a comment saying, back when I was in school we only had fire drills, and I was like, first of all, we're not talking about the 1800s, like we're. I mean, things
As opposed
changed.
to the 1700s for Trump.
Yeah, like exactly. So like we're not we have to kind of evolve with the time. Like there are going to be, newer potential threats. There are things that are going to happen that are going to teach us we should prepare for this. We should prepare for this thing. Aliens. So aliens.
Oh,
But Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Kamala's an alien.
Kamala is an alien.
Sorry.
But yeah, like there are going to be threats that we have to prepare ourselves for, and if someone is giving me my kids, the training that they need to do that, then absolutely. We had tornado
Yeah.
drills, we had hurricane drills, we had
Yep.
fire drills, like,
Active shooter drills, all of it. Yeah.
yeah, like there was bomb threat drills, like we had those.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna happen. You're gonna have that person that gets a hair up their ass and wakes up in the morning wanting to shoot people, and it happens. It sucks,
Yeah,
and I'm
and
sorry for the people that
you know how
lose.
you prevent that?
Hide your
Parents,
guns.
store your damn guns properly.
Mm-hmm.
There
Yep.
should be no excuse for a child getting a hold of your firearm. And that is one of the biggest things that comes with this discussion around guns, around mass shootings, and around school shootings, which, while incredibly terrible, are fortunately extremely rare
Preventable.
with regard to gun violence and preventable.
Yep.
I see two big solutions right off the get go. Don't be a complacent gun owner and store them properly. Okay, maybe three. And educate your children on firearms.
You
This
know?
might sound controversial. You don't have to give them a live weapon. There are training dummy weapons. They're blue, they're cool, and you can put in you can use airsoft, you can use whatever. But just like when it comes to responsibly drinking or responsibly doing anything, you educate the kids. You
Yep.
teach them how to make sure the safety's on, how to do this or that. You normalize that this is a tool to be used properly.
Yep.
And if you notice, like, pay attention to your kids. And I'm talking as someone who doesn't have them, but if you notice that your kid is being bullied or is depressed or is acting differently, get involved. Don't be
Talk
a
to your
bystander,
kids. Talk to
especially in
your
your kid's
kids.
life. Talk to them, ask them. If there's a problem, be an adult, go resolve it at the school, get the other parent involved and say, hey, what the hell's going on? Why is your kid and my kid
Mm-hmm.
having a problem?
Yep.
There's been such an aversion to resolving conflict that culminates in these stress levels in children that build up until you have, like, the kid who was perp walked in Florida because he had a kill list and said he was going to take out people at school. And
Whoa.
they locked him up and
Yeah.
posted a video of him perp walking the kid and all the weapons he had gotten his hands on, which was
Yep.
insane.
It was a
There's no way.
lot. It was
It
a lot of
was swords,
weapons.
knives, guns,
Yep.
axes. It was
There
like
was so much.
absolutely insane.
They had a
If you haven't
table.
seen it, look it up. Look up the kid that was perp walked in Florida.
Yep.
Florida doesn't mess
Nutty,
around with
bro.
that.
No, they don't. No, they
Yeah.
don't.
And if a kid is gonna do that, to quote the police officer in the video, if you're not going to take care of your kids, we will. We'll perp walk them and lock them up because you can't teach them how to act.
Yeah.
We'll handle it.
Yep.
And I am strongly behind that because if you have proper education and proper storage, again, proper storage of your firearms, don't leave that accessible to your children. Get a safe. Put it somewhere really up high while they're young. As they get older, hopefully they've learned how to properly use firearms and they're not as much of a concern of thinking they're going to go and grab your Glock and go and do something bad. There's if you're not incompetent, if you're paying attention and not complacent, these sorts of things are avoidable.
Yep.
And in a lot of cases, going back to something you said when it comes to, checking someone's mental health state, that's a little bit tougher. I agree that we should have mental evaluations, but a lot of people, like serial killers and people who go
They
and do
can
these
fake
mass
it.
shooting things, well, no, they have clean records. They're totally clean. There's nothing that would have them
Yeah.
in the system to be checked.
Yeah.
If somebody
that's
doesn't
true.
have anything that's got them with like a red flag to anybody else, like if they're just a normal person, normal, kind of just going through life, and then they just one day decide, I'm gonna go and do this horrendous thing.
Yeah.
Like there's what's gonna stop that? It's not gonna be the added restrictions. It's gonna be the properly trained concealed carrier next to them that's gonna pull out their weapon and put down the threat.
100%, dude. Oh my God, thank you. And I really want to kind of like elaborate on that because, like, first things first, it's not the guns that kill people. It is people that kills people. Since
Don't
we
act
have
like
been
you ain't
doing
never heard that
this,
before.
dude, it's I'm sitting
Unless
here.
you're a 1911 and you drop it.
Like,
Sorry.
I've been sitting here, and we're a good hour into this conversation, and I've got my XDS right here that has not moved. I've got my G2C that's to the right of me, and then right behind me, I also have my AR-15. And you want to know something? They have not moved an inch since we
Oh, I heard
started.
those things kind of go off and get
Yeah,
all mischievous on their own.
oh, that was because I was putting one in the chamber and putting my magazine back in, putting the magazine back in, and then putting into the holsters. But the point is of this whole thing is it's like it's not gonna just get up and go kill people,
No.
like if my right to protect somebody gets taken away, I'm gonna be pissed, and the thing is I am that person. He is also that person. He will, if there is someone that is in danger or a life-threatening situation, best believe you'll get an unloaded clip, dude. Like, that's an unloaded magazine. I don't want to say clip. Unloaded magazine.
Unless we're
And
going out with an M1 Garand.
yeah,
Shink.
exactly. So, I mean, it's gonna happen. Well, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Knock on wood. But if it
Well,
does,
yeah. I mean,
like, I
you
want to
never
be able
want it to
to.
happen.
Exactly. You don't ever want it to happen. But if in the event it does, like, I want to be able to protect my friends, my family, and my loved ones, And honestly, I really like the sport of it. There's nothing, if you guys have not ever
Exactly.
fired a gun,
Oh, man.
if you've never fired a gun before, I encourage you, please go to a gun, rent a gun, because you can go to Shoot Straight, you can go to, what's another one,
I
Shooters
bet Lead
World,
Feather's got it too.
Lead Feathers. Like, there's places that you can go to where you can rent a gun, shoot a couple rounds, you pay for the rounds, that's it. You pay for the rounds, you
You
pay
can
for.
also get training from instructors at these ranges a lot of the times too.
Yeah,
Introductory courses, like you're gonna have people teach you what's going on, and then the second you start firing that thing, you're gonna be like, oh.
exactly. And it's cool. It's honestly, it'll be a life-changing event for those of you that have not shot a gun. It's either gonna, one, make you want a gun, or two, show you that it really doesn't do anything for you and you really never wanted a gun to begin with, but at least you've tried it. Like, it's for me, it's fun. For me, I enjoy it. It's a pleasure of
Thoroughly.
mine going out
It's like
to.
enjoying cars, man.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
like guns too. But the
But
difference is a lot of these talks around increasing restrictions for gun owners and such, you're not doing anything to stop the crime.
no.
You're not going to have somebody who's illegally attaining firearms go, oh man, I guess I really got to do this background check first. I got to make
It's
sure
the
I do this
truth.
before I go shoot up this family.
I
Like,
don't mean to
no.
laugh, but it's the truth. Like, just because
Well, and that's how dumb the argument is when
yeah,
you don't take a second to think about what you're actually suggesting. You're restricting the ability for law-abiding citizens that are going to actually go out of their way in a lot of cases. Because if you're taking the time to get a firearm, to get training, which I always encourage, get good at what you're doing. Don't just buy it and store it
good.
somewhere and never shoot it. Get good, man. Get good, scrub. Seriously, like somebody who's going to take the time to obtain a firearm, get the training, and become adept with it, they're the people that you're going to want in the room when somebody else decides to pop off.
Oh,
They're the
100%.
people
Yep.
that are going to have your six.
Agree.
And in the community, there's kind of just an unspoken rule that you got my six, I got your six. It's
Yep.
you're always looking out for potential threats. Maybe more so if you've been in law enforcement or military, but I mean that's even true in the civilian side of things too. That's how him and I have always been.
I'll show you mine if
You know,
if you show me yours.
a lot of the discussion around gun control comes from a place of ignorance, and that's not to be mean. That is just to be honest, that there is a lot of ignorance about the weapons. Folks will say assault rifles and machine guns and conflate the two. The AR sitting behind Mugen is not a machine gun. It is a semi-automatic rifle that'll fire about as fast as you can pull your finger.
Bro, I thought you were.
Machine guns.
I thought it was moving for a minute. It scared the hell out of me.
Oh, it does that. It'll just kind of get up and go and do something. No, but I mean, the whole point is that it'll fire as fast as you can pull the trigger. It is not a kind of weapon where you're going to hold it down and it's just going to spray.
Nope.
And there's even arguments to be made that you shouldn't restrict civilians from being able to have those weapons too. I mean, you can get tanked, you can get rocket launchers, you can have a private air force. I mean, the badass that is Jared Isaacman that went up on the Polaris Dawn missions and all has his own MiG-29. So the discussion should be more around education and how to address the socioeconomic issues that are actually causing the majority of the actual gun violence outside of suicides that is happening in the inner cities. If we're going to
Yeah,
be real,
man.
the gun deaths are basically consistent year to year. I mean, they have increased, but they've gone from 25, 30,000 to about now at 40,000
Hmm.
a year, with over 300, 400 million weapons in the United States. And the vast majority of that, 60+% of that, is self-termination, suicide.
It's so sad, man.
The rest is majority gang violence, inner city violence, and that is all happening in the same areas all the time. So if you know that's the case, it's not the gun isn't the problem. The gun's just what they're using. The problem is the socioeconomic status of the area
Hmm.
and the fact that that's the life they're pulled into. A lot of these young men don't think that they have anything else they can do other than sell dope and join the gang
Yeah,
that their brother and dad and friend are all in. It's a deeper issue than the firearms.
yeah. They're
But
not seeing past their own nose. They only know what they know.
yeah, and
They're not
that
presented
really isn't.
options.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a fault of their own. It's the
It's an
condition of the cities
environmental
they're
thing.
in, and
Exactly.
it's absolutely an environmental thing. And the rest, the very tiny percentage of that, thankfully, is just accidental shootings and then mass shootings, which are tiny. I mean, they're arguably the most terrifying to think about, but fortunately, so rare. And I hope more and more rare. And contrary, just to put this in there, people want to keep on bringing up ARs. More often than not, in mass shootings and school shootings and such, it's handguns. It's not ARs.
Yep.
There has been an AR involved here and there, but it is predominantly handguns. It's not the scary AR that people want to freak out about. That's
Hmm.
just what's been plastered everywhere to use that same appeal to fear and emotion to get people to think, oh, yeah, maybe it is a common sense thing to take away ARs. Well, then where does that stop?
Hmm.
Okay, you've gotten ARs off the shelves now. What's next? You're going to come for the handguns?
Yep.
So
Exactly.
this
Start
leads into
reform.
something we talked about earlier. The Second Amendment is there because it's there to protect all the others, your free speech
Hmm.
and everything else. The framers of the Constitution knew what they were doing. They knew that they were coming from an oppressive regime where they couldn't speak their mind. So they instilled that as the First Amendment. And then they realized, well, how do we ensure that this government that is going to represent the people doesn't grow, get corrupt, and try to take that away?
Yeah.
We ensure that the people have the right to bear arms, to enforce their other rights.
Hmm.
Don't get confused and think that these guns are just for hunts, just for home self-defense, just for recreational. These are also meant to be a deterrent to tyrannical governments coming up. And that just brings it full circle to the reason why I can't vote for the current machine and why I am on the side of Donald Trump. Because
Yeah.
I want to keep those rights at our forefront and be able to defend our liberties.
When it comes to placing your vote, do your research. And I'm not saying, again, this isn't like by me saying do your research, it's not saying that I don't believe that you should vote for Kamala Harris, like, or Donald Trump for that fact. Like, vote for you who for who you feel is right. At the end of the day, like, just make an educated decision. Don't go based off of like what media tells you. Like, do the digging on Kamala, do the digging on Trump. Like, figure out what your pros and cons are. Like, if Kamala gets elected, like, what are the things that you're okay with dealing with, and what policies are you okay with her instilling? And same thing for Trump. Like, we already know how Trump is. Trump speaks his mind. He grabs everything by the pussy in this case. But he, like, we know where he comes from, and you either accept it on both ends, Kamala and Trump's, or you don't, and then you just vote for the opposing person. So that's my thoughts on that. But I think we pretty much like covered all of the topics that we had. I don't think
Yeah,
that
and
there's anything else.
understandably, with this being the first episode and our first real crack at this, please give all the feedback you can about what
Mm-hmm.
you liked, what you disliked, what we've said, what you think we got wrong. I guess just a quick summary rehash for me, the reasons, because what comes to mind is some of the posts on X with some individuals that have been wonderful in standing out to present contrasting ideas, like Scott Graham, EV Timeline, me, myself, and I, Tesla Mojo, and I have gone back and forth a few times. You've
Mm-hmm.
had a conversation with a few,
Yeah.
and I do want to say, like, if we didn't get to everything you've brought up, I apologize. I know when it comes to like the John Kelly thing, the generals thing, the felonies, the alleged rape claims, the Elon perpetuating lies on X, it all comes down to, in a large way, accountability for making sure that whatever you see online is coming from somebody that might not be 100% accurate, as good faith as you want to be, or bad faith. Well, I mean, I hope you would do most things in good faith, but if you just hate Elon and you're gonna go that way, you're gonna do you, and I can't really change your mind. But when it comes to seeing what people say, you want to make sure that you keep that personal accountability too. And I know it sucks. You know, like if
Mm-hmm.
somebody's got a huge following, and this goes across the board, we had a bunch of huge accounts spreading misinformation around us being able to create hurricanes and attacking North Carolina with them. And it's like, I hate seeing that. I hate seeing, that people still think the earth is flat, or that space isn't real, or that, reptilian overlords are over. Oh God, they heard me. Like it's, it's frustrating. I get it. But that is part of free speech. It
Yeah.
is someone that you don't like saying something that you don't like, but being able to say it, to take another quote from Elon. And the best way to combat that is to talk about it. So I thank everybody who's sent in stuff. And I know we've talked a lot in however long we've been recording here. And I look forward to doing this more. And it'll get a little bit more concise and to the point, and we'll figure out our flow. And I thank anybody who's still watching by this point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and I definitely want to thank everybody as well. I know that most of you, a majority of the following, has actually come from Cause's Cyberlift account. But for those that have actually like gone into my streams and from my gaming platforms, and said hey and showed support, I hope that we can get that same support here. It'd be really nice. We definitely welcome the constructive criticism. Like we said at the beginning, and like we said before we even recorded this video, we want to try and make this as least echo chamber as possible. Like we're not trying to make it seem like it's a very one-sided thing.
Yeah,
So
that is to say, though, real quick, that there's a big difference between an echo chamber where you're ignoring the other side and not listening to anybody,
mhm.
and actually having your own opinions. Like, we can disagree and think that, even with everything you've said, we've come to our
Mhm.
own conclusion. That does not then, therefore, equal echo chamber. We got to remember definitions here, because I've already seen that.
Yeah.
And the point of saying this here is that, like, we are listening to outside information, we're taking in new data.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's just a matter of it's a matter of like what we've been saying throughout the video. It's like do your own research, come up with the reason why you're coming or voting for a particular candidate, and then if that's something that you still choose, then that's something that you still choose. I'm not here to change minds. I'm just here to present opinions, facts that we've come across, and honestly
Kick
to
off the
really
discussion.
yeah, really just to kick off the discussion, because now moving forward from here, we will have some of you that will have an input, and it is all welcomed, all of it, the good, the bad,
Encouraged. Yes.
the ugly. Just remember that it's a conversation. That it's not, we're not here to stab each other's backs. We're here to talk. Like we're here to express ideas, and please, because some of the responses that we do have, take it with a grain of salt, because it is not that we're trying to be malicious or like hard. We're just very factual based, and we like to just have facts. It's not something that like I saw a video and they said this and then we just smack that in your face. That's not how we do it. We actually dig for the information to present to you, to give a better answer. So with
Yeah.
that being said, really want to thank every single one of you that have made it to this point, or if those of you that had skipped from the beginning to the end just to see that, thank you for the 5 minutes that you watched and watched the end to see me say thank you.
How'd you get to the future? What? We're also going to say a lot of stupid shit because
That's just us. We say a lot of dumb stuff, but
but yeah. Thanks.
for
Thanks. Thanks.
definitely look forward to even like really building a relationship with you guys, like personally. Like we want to eventually get people in on this, like have guest appearances, have actual talks and things like that, and see different standpoints. And this is by no means is this going to be like two dogs attacking one. Not going to be the
No, no, no,
case.
no.
Not going to be the
We've
case.
always felt it's better to have one-on-one fights.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. If anything, I'll just hop out of chat real quick and then no, I'm just kidding. So, but in
no.
all seriousness, know that like we're here to talk and just really enjoy, and yeah, yeah, man. I've got nothing else to say. How about you, bro?
No, nope. I think that's good. And we look forward to catching everybody in future videos.
All right, man. You guys take it easy. Have a great day, night, afternoon, whatever time you see this video, and we will catch you in the next one.
Channel my cyberlift energy here. Get into my content creator mode.
I know this is going to be crazy because this is going to be different content than what I'm used to. I'm like used to being like, "What's up, everybody? Mugen XS here, and today we're going to be doing a live stream of Dragon Ball Fighters ranked matches. Let's see what we can get into today." And now it's like KNM
Wrong channel.
Tactical, wrong chat, bro. That would be, dude. That would be a funny blooper. That'd be so. Oh, bro, that'd be hilarious. Be like, "What's up, everybody?" And then you'd be like, "Just do me. Hold on. Look to your right." No, it would be the left. Yeah, you would have to look to your left to look at me.
So I'm looking at you looking this way. That's so
Yes.
ass
Yeah.
badass. What
Yep. And
reality
then
are we
I'm
in?
looking at you looking this way, and I'm like looking.
Ah.
Hey, that's gonna be,
God,
bro. We
that's
should
it.
totally be like this and just be like, boom, fist bump.
Is that the right way to do it?
Boom. Yes, that's exactly the right way.
This is
Be
some
like,
fucking
fuck yeah.
fusion shit
Oh,
over
dude,
here.
let's do it.
This
Oh
is
my
all on
god.
recording right
Yep.
now, and
This
we are
is
live, by the way. Just
13 minutes
screw
in.
it.
I'm putting guns in this video, by the way. I'm 100% putting guns in this video. I'm be like, oh, by
Fuck
the
yeah,
way,
bro.
this is this gun, this is this one, and then boom, the big one.
And it doesn't show because of NVIDIA.
I'm gonna make that reference too. I'm gonna make that reference. I was like, it probably won't show the full gun, probably because it's black, and it. I'm gonna do it 100%. I'm gonna do it.